Hello, warriors. Who's ready for the battlefield? Alexander, are you ready? Hugo? I know Paul is. Ren? Dollar continuing to the upside and on the verge of breaking out of bull flags. Bull flags in the dollar. Here you go. The only other scenario I could think of is that this is a failing rally and we get a C, but I think we're just going to blow off here. I'm looking for 92.90 to 93.50. Euro continues weakness here. If you look at it, just a bear flag. You're wrong over closes over 120 because then we could see 21. And cable's holding up better right now. So this is very critical area in Euro pound right here. So we had this rally and reversal week, and this area in the 70s is important. In fact, it's a 2-week off number. So by Friday, we had a 2-week reversal, but just to show you how these off numbers come into play, there's a weekly. So it needs to close over 85.92. Oil looks vulnerable. There's your third drive up there. Here's 1, 2, and here's 3. Okay, so you have higher stock indexes. Still haven't seen 4,300 yet in the S&Ps. And even though NASDAQ's a lot stronger, we're still under the high of the move. For some reason, well, there's VIX. I just want to show the VIX here. So you know that for the last few weeks, I've been talking about these wicks, which to me smack of accumulation. Look at this. Someone's buying the VIX after they offer it near the opening. So it's actually a little 3 drive here. We'll see if we could get another new low if S&Ps have 4,300 on it. You know, sometimes when everyone's looking for one level, it either doesn't achieve it, or when it gets to 4,300, it may just go through it like a hot knife through butter. But I would say that the story so far this morning is dollar strength, follow through, especially in the euro, and Aussie's looking pretty heavy too. So in my view, we're going to take out these lows in both the euro and Aussie and eventually cable, and we'll see if cable resumes its leadership to the downside. Gold, I mean, you know, I looked at the metals over the weekend. What can you say about these? Sideways after a big break, you know, it could pop or it could fail. It's, you know, doesn't look healthy to me. Silver doesn't look healthy to me. In fact, it's sitting on this right here on the daily. It's almost like Wile E. Coyote on a ledge if we take out 2570. Okay. And I think that's about all I wanted to cover. 10 years coming off a little bit. But, you know, when I look at it, it has a look of a bull flag as well. Let's see if we hold last week's lows. If that's the case, you know, maybe we get a move to 194. And that's being supportive of the yen. You know, last week, Canada still looks good. Okay, it has to prove itself and get back to the highs, but both Canada and the dollar look pretty good. So, you know, in fact, in relative strength terms, last week, just to show you something, you see how the dollar almost retested these lows here? All right, see that? Keep that in mind. Canada didn't come close. See that? So for the first time in a long time, USD CAD is showing relative strength even to the dollar. So, I notice these small things, retests, and if a market is in the same type of asset class, and it's not doing what the major thing is doing, like the dollar, it's showing relative strength. So Canada looks pretty good. Actually, I think before this dollar rally is over that we're going to see 130 in Canada to 132. And those are my calls. The next one's yours, 800-899 bear. Ever called that number for a Vermont teddy bear, Blake? Well, just showing some relative strength, Paul, comparatively. If you think back a month ago, if the dollar was retesting the low, CAD was pretty weak. It probably was making new lows. So it's just a little change in character, a little market message in that. I don't know if I'd call it divergence. I'd call it relative strength. Yes, Angle? Yes, it does, Gorkum. Yes, it does show divergence. And three drives. Although on the daily it's still confirming, it's really strong. So maybe initially you just look for, I think the off number this week is 7120, which would come in down here. So maybe that's what we get. And Angle, what are you asking me about? Euro pound? Just a shot that last week was a pretty positive week and buying a pullback in Euro pound, and I have stops 10, 20 pips under the low here. So if it does turn good, I think there's a shot for, a bear market rally that could maybe take us up towards the 88 level. Be nice if you have to clear this 86.20. Does that help, Angle? Okay. How you doing, Blake? Did you have a good weekend?
Good morning, Dale.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Pretty good, buddy.
So, I actually I had a very busy weekend. I did Boris Schlossberg's Trader Fest. So I did that on Saturday, which it was good. It was, if you guys listen to this webinar every day, or at least actually I should take that back. If you listen to the Morning Edge, then you're very familiar with what I was talking about over the weekend. But I try to clue a lot of people in on my on just like my methodology, if you will, for analysis, because, and I guess we should talk a little bit about it, because the question was, when's the best time to enter? Like, how do you find the best time to enter? And it really all comes down to preparing, right? So, you were looking at the euro sterling, for example.
Yeah.
And I'll use this as an example. And it's not a currency pair that I'm trading every day or looking to trade every day, but it's something that I could really, if I really wanted to just figure out the best place for me to enter this pair, I'll tell you, I just by looking at this chart right now, I'll tell you exactly where it is. And let's say it was, trying to trade your idea, Dale, and I wanted to be long. Well, I would look at this horizontal support, the 78% retracement, and channel support. That's three forms of confluence, and I would be long right here if given the opportunity.
Oh, if there's another retest, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it would be a 78% retracement, maybe even a little false breakdown, horizontal support over here. It'd be channel support. So, but what I was trying to reinforce with the people at Trader Fest was trying to find a levels to be a buyer or seller, to find those support and resistance levels, based on, and I talk to people why I do a bias chart, because a bias chart really helps me every day identify the key levels of support that we might get some sort of reaction from. And that's, you know, that's what we care about as traders, right? Like, hey, if the euro made it to 120, I know it's such an important level that we're probably going to, respond to that. We're going to respond there. So if you're looking for a short trade for the euro dollar, short it at 120. That's like my, that's what we do on a daily basis. And for those of you that are Forex Analytics subscribers, even if you use the light version, remember and just for you guys listening at home, the light version is only $19 a month. We price it, very inexpensive, so you can go watch the live webinars, all of them. You can watch, the face webinar the Morning Edge, where we, do the bias chart analysis, and we go through it each and every day. But this process helps me find the levels that I'm looking for to take a trade. And it doesn't mean that, I'm always going to be right. It doesn't mean that at all. But having a plan as you enter the market is so vitally important to your success. And that's what we do on a daily basis. It's really important to understand that concept. So Dale, you asked me how my weekend went. That was like
that's
that
after
was
weekend.
well, that was on Saturday morning, and so I had to get up at like 4:30 in the morning on Saturday morning to do that because of my time slot. And then I had to do it again Sunday, not not Boris's Trader Fest. My son had a specialized goalkeeper training, and it's so hot here, Dale. You know how it is.
Yeah.
And he
do it in the morning.
What's
Doesn't
that?
matter. Did he do it early? He do it early in the morning.
Yeah, it was like at 7:30 in the
Yeah.
morning on the other side of town. So we were up at like, 5:00, getting ready, then taking off. And man, these kids, I'll tell you, it's in the morning, it's 100 degrees out and the sun is out blaring down, and these kids are getting their butts worked. I was sitting in the shade, so I had nothing to really complain about. But it's they
He's
were
dedicated.
They are, those athletes. My hat's off to them. I mean, these if you guys, I know a lot of you Europeans and Asians, you love, football, and I tell you, I'm a huge fan, especially after having a kid that's pretty, competitive, in American soccer, or, football, if you will. He's really competitive, and I have a really nice appreciation for the sport. But man, those kids were working their butts off. We had my son was the youngest, and then we had college kids and yada yada yada. Anyway, it was cool. It was fun to watch. But boy, it was hot out there. So that was my weekend. My weekend was getting up early, and I didn't get to sleep in at all. So let's talk a little bit about this week. I have I was talking about, if you watch the week ahead video, I was talking about how shallow the dollar index moves have been, and the pullbacks have been. And we talked about this all last week. If you guys were listening in all last week, we're talking about the dollar index, very shallow retracements. We weren't even able to get back to the 38% retracement. Steve's been harping on how he's pretty bullish the dollar, and I've been talking about the retracements just being really shallow. I mean, we're not even getting a 38% retracement. We're not even getting a 38% retracement on the dollar index. And you guys know, whenever it's that shallow, you got to be really cautious, especially if you're trying to fade it. This is a big week. We obviously have a jobs report. What happens on Friday? Well, even the ADP data, and we get some of the ISMs that come in. But really, at the end of the week, it's going to be driven predominantly by the jobs data. But I think, if I was short, and I try to put myself in the shoes, the opposite shoes of the market. So if you're short the dollar right now. The dollar's trying to break higher and you're short. How are you feeling? Especially, we've been basing here for the last 4 trading sessions, and we've been basing here, and now we're trying to break higher. I mean, if you're short the dollar, you're probably going, holy crap, this is going to
Maybe
be.
there are a lot of people, there were a lot of bears before the Fed, and maybe the bears are still stuck, and that's why the market isn't accommodating them with a deeper price retracement.
Yeah, perhaps. And one of the things I have to imagine that most dollar traders are feeling, and this is because this is my feeling too, has been for like the last several weeks, is that the dollar is just consolidating, right? I mean, it is. I mean, you look at the dollar index, we are just basically consolidating. You could actually argue that we're forming more of a triangle consolidation. It looks like this. I'm gonna go ahead and just put that right there. We're forming a triangle consolidation, and we're not too far from the upper end of that. But if you're short the dollar and you're getting towards the upper end of the consolidation, yeah, you can't help to feel a little nervous here, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you've got to, then you start thinking, oh my God, well, how about if there's a strong jobs report, and
Yeah.
we create 800, 900,000 jobs, the dollar's going to
The
actually.
market's kind of set up for that, Blake, after 2 disappointments, how people think the past is always going to repeat,
Yeah,
that maybe we get a blowout number. I like your 1.618 target intermediate term.
right there at 95, 96.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the question is how quickly could we be up there? I would think this could be this might be a fall target, maybe,
Hmm.
like ahead of the end of the year, right?
Yeah. Oh, I think even before the summer, I think we get there before the fall.
What? Really? All right. Hey,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
we'll see. I mean,
All right. I
that'd be
mean,
pretty
we have
aggressive.
to, the summer is goes till I think September 20th. So,
Is
right?
that, I
That's
wish
when
it was,
fall starts. Right?
oh
So
gosh, it's so far away, so far.
I know.
You know,
And it's not as bad here, Blake, but it's still bad.
It's bad. I was talking to my yesterday. We were on a call with our we have some family friends that live in Bend, Oregon,
Oh my
and
God, up there. It's everywhere. You can't
yeah, it's
escape.
no, they're talking about people in Portland that don't have air conditioning. It's 115 degrees. I'm living in 115 degrees, but we were built for that, man. There's some places that people are really struggling. All right, let's get away from the weather. But the dollar index looks constructive here, and that's what I think we really need to pay attention to, especially with stocks so strong. We still have the equity markets near the 4,300 mark, and we're holding gains. And again, I have to reiterate, when you have the dollar, when you have the stock market as strong as it is, typically the dollar is going to be a little weaker. But what happens if we do find some sort of resistance? When does the dollar? I mean, the dollar is going to come out of its shoes. It's probably going to just be extremely, it's going to be a big rally in the event that the S&P starts to pull back. So I'm really watching the S&P, because man, if we get a break back below this 4260 level, that's just another feather in the cap for dollar longs. I mean, again, if I was short the dollar, I'd be thinking, oh my God, what happens if stocks start to roll over here? And what happens if we have a strong jobs number? I think anybody who's short the dollar, I have to say, bottom line is got to be a little concerned. Let's talk a little bit about cryptos too. I bought some Ethereum just before. I bought some Ethereum on Friday.
Nice.
Yeah, I bought a little bit here around the 1820 level. And then, we kind of were flagging, and then we started spiking up yesterday. Just around this 1900 level, and I'm like, oh, or is it right here? It was right here. This is a 4-hour chart. I'm trying to think where it was. Yeah, it was right here, and we started to spike up, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to go ahead and take that off. I took it off at like 19, of 1900 or whatever, and obviously a little early, but we're holding, these supports in Bitcoin. I mean, we continue to hold this 30,000 level. We're not making higher highs. So that's the thing that you got to be thinking about with these cryptos. We're not making higher highs. And so when we're not making higher highs, but we're making consistent lows, what that actually makes up is a, flag pattern, or a wedge pattern, when you have consistent lows and lower highs. So, unless we start breaking,
Ethereum's acting better than Bitcoin today.
it is.
Why did you choose that over Bitcoin?
Ethereum, I chose it over because it has really underperformed for the last couple of weeks, and I actually think that Bitcoin's the better play, and percentage wise, it's better. It's easier for me to pick up Ethereum at 1800, sell at 1900, make a percentage gain for me. And I think Ethereum had been beaten down for the last few weeks, and I thought it was ready to bounce back better against the ETH BTC. You can see.
Well, maybe you hold for John Nettles' target into the end of the year.
No, I'm already out. But you can see, you can see that it had been really underperforming recently, and I thought it was ready to pivot off of some of these lows. It's just kind of how I've been viewing it. I like I said, I think Ethereum is the better vehicle at this point. I like, if we get a pullback in Bitcoin towards 20,000, and this is all based on what I've read, I'd rather, if Bitcoin pulls back to 20,000 and we find some support there, I'll turn around and buy Ethereum. I probably won't buy Bitcoin. Right. I'll still play the complex using Bitcoin as the basis of my decision, but I'll probably end up being long Ethereum is going to be my play based on the information that I have right now. So, but yeah, anyway, I thought we're going to outperform here. So, yeah, that's it. So anyway, I wanted to point that out as far as cryptos go. Again, the dollar is looking pretty firm here, and it's a big week. It's a big week for the dollar. So I'm going to bring in Stelios. Good morning, Stel.
Good morning, Bilaki, or however your name is. How are you?
Trader Fest was impeccable. Oh, awesome.
It's nice. Yeah, I did that 2 years ago. Remember?
Yeah. I've done. Boris puts on. He puts on a nice event. I've done one before. I know you've done one before. And it was nice to do. It was just my time slot. It's like I should have actually requested a little bit later. I didn't think about it because I'm like, hey, it's it's Saturday, and I always get up early anyway. So what's the difference? But no, I would have actually enjoyed to sleep in a little bit. So that was my only complaint. So anyway, let me not complain about that. Yeah. How's the market? What's going on here? What are you thinking? I mean, I'm still looking at. You probably heard my spiel on the dollar. I think the dollar looks good. Stocks are still very strong, and cryptos are bouncing. But what else are you seeing out there?
First of all, I agree with your view on the dollar. It needs, with stocks this high and kind of resilient, it should have been lower. And I'm guessing whoever's short the dollar is feeling a little bit nervous. I'm still looking at yields, and as long as yields don't rise, I don't think we're going to get a meaningful turn in the markets.
You're still sticking by that story, huh?
Man, what can I do? Nothing's changed, right? Otherwise, I'm looking at the data. We had today. I know people don't look at data anymore, but we had German.
That's not true. I strongly disagree. I actually think everybody should be looking at data right now.
I agree with you, but unfortunately, people have kind of shrugged them off, except inflation data. But we got today German import price index year on year 11 something %, 11.8, which is I mean, obviously, we did have negative prints during COVID, but this is a very big turnaround, and we're seeing it everywhere. Prices are going higher. Producers are having to either increase their prices or decrease the sizes of their products. Stealth inflation. You're seeing it everywhere. So this, in my opinion, I don't think it's transitory the way the Fed is saying it is, but they're telling us that just to make us feel a little bit calmer and safer. But I'm still looking at data, and we have the payrolls on Friday. And remember, last month's print was a lot weaker than expected, and there was a lot of commentators saying, "Oh, yes, this was a one-off. It's going to go back to a pretty monster number next month." Well, it has a lot of it has a lot to live up to now, this print. So if it's not strong, I think we can expect further weakness in the dollar, and probably equities rising more, which is counterintuitive, but this is how it's going to be.
Yeah, no, I agree. And actually, Dale had mentioned that the last two jobs reports were pretty weak, and I did a trader battle with
Chris
Pulver, yes, correct, of Market Traders Institute. Is that where he's at? Anyway, I did a trader battle for non-farm payroll two months ago, and the dollar did weaken following that. And then last month was a weaker number. And Dale had mentioned that, hey, this is a setup for another one. I'm actually doing a trader battle this week with that dude from
Genghis Khan.
No. Aspen Trading Group.
Oh yeah, Dave.
Yeah.
Dave. Gosh, I've been interviewed him a long time, many
times.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, I'm doing that again, and that's my playbook. I mean, ahead of time, you guys will know that. I mean, it's it, and it's a pretty simple playbook, and it is counterintuitive, as you pointed out, Stel. It's a weaker data, strong stocks. You got to buy like the Aussie, the Kiwi, the peso. If it's weaker data, you have to imagine with weaker data, you're probably going to see like I said, strong equities. With stronger data, you're going to see equities roll over, and you're going to see the dollar really firm up, and you're going to probably see some outsized moves in the dollar, because the dollar's been holding up really well. So I agree with you.
It's a new normal. It's a new normal. What's been the main reason for equities higher the last years? Zero rates and ample liquidity. End of story. The minute these start to reverse, then equities are going to go lower. How much lower? I don't know, but they're going to correct at some point.
Yeah.
The other couple of things worth mentioning, I was listening from the beginning. I don't think you mentioned that Joe Biden is pushing through the $500 billion plan, and he's getting some Republican support. So that's going to probably go through. And the markets are going to like that for sure. And you spoke about cryptos earlier, and it's very interesting to note that in the UK, I don't know if you read it, in the UK, they are now, I think they've banned Binance, the exchange, Binance, pretty big exchange, and they banned it. So this is, I don't know the reasons why, I have to read up on it, but I read the headline and I'm like, oh, okay, this is pretty important.
Yeah, there's a battle going on between governments and crypto right now, aren't there?
Yeah. China, and at the end of the day, the governments will want a piece of this action. They always do. If something becomes big enough and there's money involved, they're going to want a piece of action, especially since it's an asset that gets used in a big way for money laundering. So, they're going to want their cut. So if people think it's not going to get regulated or controlled in some way, I'm sorry to tell you, I think it's going to happen.
Yeah, 100%. Hey, Dale, do you have an interview today?
Yeah. In fact, she's here. She's here.
Oh, I didn't even see a tweet go by.
I noticed. There've been some tweets missing, like thanking all the guests last week, and anyway.
Yeah, we've got to figure out what's going on there with our social media.
Anyway, okay. Karen, this is a first appearance on Face by Karen Sterrick.
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
We've got to figure. Okay. So before we go, I got a couple comments. Thanks, Forex Gal said, great presentation. Thank you. Paul said, question. I registered for Trader Fest and never got a link for the recordings. That's supposed to, I actually asked that this morning to Boris and he said 72 hours for the recording. Cause I said, undoubtedly I'm going to get that question. Like, hey, I registered. I never got the recording. It's going out 72 hours. And Laura said it was impeccable. Thank you so much. So, all right, well, let's see. Oh, Paul said all trading has stopped by Wednesday, according to the FCA.
This is for Binance, and it's only for the UK, like our friend here correctly pointed out. But still, you know, it's non-negligible. I don't think as an event.
And yeah, what is what's the reason? Now my curiosity is peaked. So, hey guys, I wanted to mention this to you. If you didn't catch this on the week ahead video, I want to mention this to you now. We have some big news that we're going to be announcing here in the next couple of weeks here with Forex Analytics. We were trying to wrap it up by the end of this month, but here in the next few days, we've got some pretty big announcements. Here in the next like week and a half, we've got a big announcement for you. It's pretty big for our company, and I just want to let you guys know that there's something coming down the pipe. And yeah, we're still, you know, we're matter of fact, we're making a lot of progress on our new app, and we're rewriting a lot of, you know, what you see here as far as the platform goes, and, you know, the app is getting done, but it has nothing to do with that. We have some pretty exciting news coming down the pipe. So
a fireworks show.
Yes, it's a 4th of July fireworks show. Make sure you stick around and you know, keep tuning in, as we'll make an announcement here in the next week and a half or so. It's really exciting stuff. But what I was telling people in the week ahead video, it really makes sense. If you want to try out Forex Analytics and you just want to try to be a part of the community, pay $1, take the next 10 days, you get the premium version. Even if you decide to just only go with the light version, which is $19 a month. So you can listen to all of our webinars that we do. So you can get, you know, briefed every morning on all the major currency pairs. Even if you decide to do that, it's still, you get to try out the premium version come out in the chat room for the next 10 days. It's only $1. But once we make this announcement, I think a lot of you that are not part of the community will want to be part of the community. And for those of you that are already in the community, you're going to be like, dude, that's pretty cool. So, so anyway, I'm excited, and hopefully you guys will be too. Obviously, mum's the word right now. I can't really talk about it, nor can, you know, Stelios or any of us, Dale or any of us.
I've tweeted about it already.
Hey, shut your mouth. No, it's exciting, and we're all really excited over here. Anyway. All right, guys, have a great one. And Dale, have a great interview. And we'll see you guys on the Morning Edge in about 45 minutes.
Trade well, buddy.
Hey, thanks, you too. See you guys.
Okay, Karen.
Hi.
Welcome to Face. Very nice to meet you.
Yeah, you as well. Haven't done a market video chat in so many years. So.
Oh, wow. Well, you know, it's good that you're back out there and get the stretch your wings a little bit here on Face. Do you know how to share your screen on Zoom? It's a little green box, says share screen.
Yeah, I thought I just did that.
And I'm losing your volume.
Okay, here we go.
All right, now I got you. I can hear you. You see the share screen? Green box?
Okay, so I'm just.
You click it, it's in the drop-down menu.
Yeah, I do these all the time, so.
Okay. Your volume keeps fading in and out when you move. So anyway, here we go. You've got the Zoom up there. So I don't know.
Yeah, I do. Okay, so it says I am sharing my. It says I am sharing my screen.
You are. So to pick a screen you want to share. You picked the Zoom screen. So
let me just go back.
New share.
Share. Okay.
New share. Hit the share screen again, and it'll show different monitors that you have, and you can show what you want to show. There you go. There's your wheel. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to start with this, Karen. What came
Yeah.
first, the financial markets or the planets?
Well, the planets have been there for millions of years. So
Oh, yeah. What a setup for that.
right.
For you.
Exactly. So I just think that, it's just interesting to me. Astrology is a very deep rabbit hole. You can just go down so many different directions with it. And I try to keep it simple. And I don't, usually put up a lot of charts and, talk a lot about configurations and aspects because, it just goes over a lot of people's heads. So what I like doing now is obviously on Twitter is just, very quick mentions, dates or certain aspects that might have a historical significance. So,
Okay.
but yeah.
So yeah, I see you have 3 different kinds of wheels, chart, 2-wheel, novice wheel, and a combo wheel. So what's the difference between the 3?
Well, so you can do, with astrology, you can overlay charts, you can add, a event chart, you can, put, the United States chart with the Federal Reserve chart. So that would be like a bi-wheel.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. And so I just put up Biden's chart because there's just some very interesting things that are happening right now. I feel, we've seen some news. I even tweeted about it last night. So some pretty
what was it?
Well, right now, so this infrastructure bill that they're looking to pass, this 1.2 trillion infrastructure.
Is it going to fail?
Well, the Republicans had made a deal with the Democrats, and it looks like Biden came out on Thursday. And
You faded out again, Karen. I don't know why, but
here we go. Can you hear me better?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I think my microphone for my computer, this might be a little better if I sit closer.
Yeah.
So
there it's good.
Yeah. So really, what's happening is, Biden is overconfident right now, and that really kind of shows up in his astrology. And with that, he came out and basically said that he wants a bill in tandem. And so he doesn't just want the 1.2 trillion. I mean, who knows how many trillions of dollars, which is just mind boggling to me, the trillions and even just $1 trillion, for an infrastructure bill. If you were to break it out, I thought we paid taxes that, to our states that covered a lot of infrastructure. So apparently, the federal government just needs to print a lot of money. And where is the money going? We just had a $1.9 trillion bill that was in March. So it's just a lot of money. And it smells
well,
like.
If you have children, you'll be getting checks, I think, starting in a week just for being a parent.
Well, and that's true. And I think a lot of people look at that as, okay, I got a benefit, but really, to me, it smells like banking crisis. And there's just this signature in the astrology for that. And I would be very suspect of any monies that are being passed at the time. And I don't think it's just, the Federal Reserve.
We have an entitlement riddled economy now.
We're in trouble. Yes, we're in trouble.
All right. So bottom line, he's overconfident. He has a little hubris here. What's the prediction that he doesn't get it done because he came out and talked about linking the two? I mean, it was all over the news about, it's kind of hanging by a thread here. What this planet saying, that he won't get it done or he will get it done?
I think that there's a bit of a financial crisis. So the real under the rug, what's been shoved under the rug is this banking crisis, probably all the way back, a decade ago.
2008 or?
Yeah. So it's just gone on and now it's more serious. And I think Russia is also on the brink, their central bank. I mean, we don't really see any news about that. And I'm just looking astrologically and there's just a signature for it. It mirrors really what was happening in the late 90s. and it's just the opposite pattern of Uranus and Saturn square. So they've switched signs. So I think really, I look at that and it's really intense conflict. Uranus Saturn squares are extremely volatile, and it can be sudden. That's just the planet of Uranus. And years ago in the 90s, when I really first started to get, are you there?
Yeah, I hear you. You moved away again from the
Okay,
microphone.
sorry.
All right, that's okay.
So really years ago in the early 90s, when I first started to study astrology, it was really because of a spiritual path. And it really was more about, what was potentially happening in the world and this crisis that we were moving into when Gorbachev was the leader. And so it's kept moving forward from that point. And I feel we are at that type of a crisis again, where it's a potential nuclear confrontation. So my entry into astrology was not to be an astrologer. It was really just to know and understand what was the signature and the warning then. And as time went on, my path evolved into, now, because of the opportunity we have with the internet, is just broadcasting it. And just because I know other information and this historical signature, we've just moved forward from that point. So you're asking me, what do I think is going to happen? What do I think is going to evolve? I think in July, we're going to find out.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard there are some potential black swans. One could be, Karen, we have the funding of the government coming up by the end of July. And what a great time for there to be a government shutdown based upon what you say. There are a lot of people feel that, how are we ever going to pay all this money back? And every, rescue package, and a lot of it has been fraud and people, taking advantage of it. So there's a possibility of us maybe being downgraded if we can't pass the debt, lift the debt ceiling again. So that happens the end of the month. Let me ask you this: been a lot of action by China flying over Taiwan. We came out and said Taiwan is no longer a problem for us with dealing with China. It's an opportunity. You talked about Uranus. Any potential geopolitical things as well besides the financial thing, on the horizon that you see?
Oh, absolutely. Because, that's Uranus. It's just this sudden political, curveballs out of left field that really throw things off balance. And I think Biden is a loose cannon. He is not a good person for them to be leading the charge. He's divisive, and he comes out and, like he did last week, and just again, throws everybody off balance. And I think he's going to continue to make mistakes, and it could be this mistake that just escalates. But underneath that, as I mentioned, I really feel there is this financial crisis. And so that could be a trigger, where we actually start to see, or the American public, or just the public internationally starts to see the cracks in the central banking. And Bitcoin will be the nod. Bitcoin, my one key date that I had really early in the spring, March 13th, was a really important date in my view to really kind of give the clue that we were in a banking crisis. And that happened. Bitcoin for the first time went over 60,000. It was very quick, but we also had the $1.9 trillion that was passed literally on March 11th, just a couple days prior. So here we are. I have another date coming up, which I've, tweeted about since February. This July 10, 11 is a really important date. And they're at the table again. getting ready to pass, 1.2 trillion. So I don't think there's a coincidence.
Okay, so how does this banking crisis manifest? They always say that the next crisis, may not completely repeat that. We were ground zero in '08 because of derivatives on the housing market. Could it be Russia or somewhere in Europe that this time is the fuse that lights it? A lot of people looking for a euro breakup. Is there anything that you see our bailiwick is currency? I'm gathering that you're a crypto enthusiast or a believer. Is that, am I reading you correctly? That Bitcoin's the answer to this financial crisis?
I think it is, for now. It does appear to me, and many have already stated, the escape valve, the escape hatch, whatever. It's an opportunity for people to really exit the central banking system. So for now, I think eventually it could evolve, and I do believe, just based on the Bitcoin, chart, its inception chart, which I use, it's January 3rd, I think. Of '09. So I think Bitcoin in and of itself is also another interesting monster. Okay. I'm not going to go down that road too much right now.
But it's a monster.
There's
just a different
else.
one.
It's just a different one. And so
there's monster. It's like Halloween with you today, Karen. So anyway, you know what? You're gonna make my hair turn gray. Okay,
yeah.
And in fact, look, you already did. Look, you made my hair turn gray. See,
oh, okay.
Just having this interview with you today, I've aged about 20 years. So, what's the best way to exploit it in your view? Maybe that's not your wheelhouse, but could it be, besides Bitcoin, precious metals? Are you in the inflation camp? Are there anything's telling you that, or are we going to have, now that everyone's worried about inflation, have some type of deflationary event where asset prices crash?
Well, I personally feel we're going to have some additional volatility coming up shortly. Jupiter going back into Aquarius right around 29 degrees has always been a point of, I will call it, financial engineering and volatility, and the markets can rip up and they can rip down. And so the last time I tweeted about that potential time frame, we saw extreme volatility. I mean, it got really, risky. And in the Bitcoin, even with that, Bitcoin, got wild, and, it's held right around 30. And I think it's, maybe building some really good support at that level.
Okay.
But I do feel we're going into another cycle, which is coming up towards in July again, where we could see some real volatility. But again, they're past, they're going to be really needing to pass this 1.2 infrastructure bill, as they call it. Is it really infrastructure? That's an interesting word. Is it for roads and bridges, or is it their infrastructure?
Yeah, there's the other part Biden wants to pass is societal infrastructure.
It's just, in my view, a label, because
social welfare.
That's what they're calling it. But what is the money really for? I mean, when has the
welfare
government? Okay.
Right. I mean, really just more of the giveaways, and just more of government support for the redistribution of wealth. Anyway, that's different than bridges and roads and power grids. I'm living in the desert. You see anything happening with power grids this summer?
Uranus rules electricity, and I think we can have crazy weather.
We are.
Mother Nature, crazy weather, crazy people. riots, more of the same. And I've written or posted a few times, I feel that 2021 is another shit show.
Okay.
So, we just, there's
And we're
just
at the halfway mark. Let me ask you this. It's something I think about. All right. So, I believe that you believe in what you're seeing because you've seen these types of signals from the planets play out before. So, are you in the US? And what are
yes.
you doing to make sure that you have some type of haven and you're prepped for it? I mean, if it's nuclear, there's no way to prep for it unless you want to go underground. But are you out of major metropolitan areas? Are you a preppy when you see all these things happening?
Okay, so Dale, my history. So going back to the 90s when this
Yeah.
pattern first emerged, yes, we were all, I have a lot of friends, and I'm in the US. I'm in a more metro area now, but I was in Montana at the
Okay.
time. And there's military grade bunkers
Yeah.
all over the place in Montana. And
Yeah.
I was a part of that. So I'm not there
Interesting.
now, but a
Yeah.
lot of my friends are. And
Okay.
so, if it got really, really bad, I'm just going to take my kids and I'm going to go back to Montana.
How about
But
how about COVID resurgence in the fall? I mean, everyone's saying this is behind us, but these variants, are we going to have? I'm not going to ask you if you had the vaccine or not. I'm guessing not, but um, are these vaccines going to prove to be not effective against some of the variants that are developing because it's a global pandemic?
so Uranus also often brings disease. And, at times when I see even in a person's chart where they have a really sudden, harsh type of an aspect with Uranus, a lot of time it brings some kind of health condition and it's difficult to diagnose, but it often can be resolved through some sort of new age or alternative medicine, because again, that's really Uranus. Well, right now, this ivermectin is pretty much knocking out the COVID virus. And I find it interesting because it's an anti-parasitic drug.
Yeah, it's what you give your dogs so they don't get heartworm.
Dogs and horses, I happen to be very much in the equine industry, and we've been giving it to our horses for years. And so people have access to it. It's an off patent drug. Merck originally held the patent for the ivermectin, and it's off patent. And so it's being manufactured by a lot of different manufacturers, drug manufacturers. And so it's it's readily available. You as a, consumer, you give it to your dog, people have been, giving it to their animals for decades and may even just have it. And I think even in India, where there were rural areas and they didn't have access to pharmaceuticals or couldn't get access to it, there were some humanitarian organizations that actually shipped to some of these communities just the horse paste.
Yeah.
And so some people were even just taking the horse paste.
Okay.
So, and without incident, and they knocked out the virus. So, this is, again, it's just like a sudden curveball out of left field to the agenda of what may have been, some, lab created virus.
Yeah.
Now here we've got something that cures it. So, do you need to even get the vaccine? And I think that's why suddenly a lot of it dropped. It was almost like as soon as the ivermectin story really hit, Biden took off his mask. He's not walking around with a mask anymore. Well, sometimes, but most of the time.
Yeah, it's very confusing. My wife told me, she got into the habit of wearing one, and now you go into a grocery store, you get ugly looks for wearing one because that implies you weren't vaccinated. And it's the opposite of how it was if you didn't wear a mask 6 months ago. You got the bad looks for. Anyway, it's really, I feel like Rod Serling has written the episode that we're living in right now. Do you think that gold, a lot of people believe that the ancient relic of sound money will serve them to have physical possession of silver and gold. You have a view on that?
So I was wrong in my projection about gold. I really felt gold was going to go up in June, and it was just kind of comedy that there was that one gold coin from 1933 that sold for like $18 million right around the date that I suggested there would be a new all-time high. So that was just
So,
kind of a little comedy.
well,
But
you know, sometimes these things invert, right? So it was a significant day. It was a high. It doesn't
well,
always. Go
yeah,
ahead.
for that gold coin, right? Somebody paid 18 million. So
Yeah.
maybe that was some kind of a, there's more to that story, or it was signaling something. I'm not going to rule it out, but in terms of the overall trend, what we're watching, the gold chart has gotten very weak. So last year, I felt it was
Yeah.
going to really go up into August, and it did, but then it retraced. Bitcoin kind of eclipsed it, and they call Bitcoin now the new gold.
Yeah.
I think it's good to own a lot of different assets, and gold should be one of them. I think silver should be one of them. Real estate should be one of them.
Okay.
Real estate, the cost to carry, so there's issues with every asset.
Yeah, there is. So if there's a financial crisis and it ends up being a liquidity crisis, real estate, although there's a shortage of single family homes, maybe some of these hedge funds that own 20, 30, 50,000 homes that they bought after the Great Recession might have to puke them back out onto the market. But with the stock market and S&Ps making new all-time highs, would you be shorting stocks or taking bearish positions in the stock market into your July 10th, 11th date?
I think somebody who is, really adept at, doing options and trading, you could take my analysis and use it because, you're good at it, right? I am not one of those people who, like publicly Michael Burry, he's probably trading very heavy. I mean, he's publicly announced it that he's short the dollar and he's short Tesla. But what is the daily activity of that? He's probably doing some very complicated trades, and
he's
is
wrong about the dollar for now, but
exactly.
I think the dollar's heading up. And if we get the kind of crisis, you get safe haven buying in there, that would only accelerate it. I'm not looking for 120 in the dollar index, but 96 is pretty possible. Do you want followers and people to follow you on Twitter? Do you have a website? Are you looking to share your message with people? And if so, what would be the best way for them to do so, Karen?
Really, right now is to follow me on Twitter. Years ago, I partnered with Jeff Pierce and Chris Ebert. Both were professional traders, and we had a newsletter. And Jeff has the zentrader.ca. He's in Canada. And for quite a few years, about 5 years, we published a subscription newsletter. And that Chris Ebert actually passed away a number of years ago. And really, our venture pretty much after that point faded out. I didn't continue it. Jeff didn't continue it. So right now, I don't have a subscription service. I'm not really publishing on the zentrader.ca. There's content there, from last year.
So Twitter.
Twitter is it for now. I'm not writing articles right now. I'm pretty much behind the scenes. I have a career in real estate. And so I do this because I just know it. There's just things that I know. There's information I have, like I said, from many years ago, decades ago, that I'm just carrying forward now. It's just because it's almost like, you see something and you know it, and you just want to say, hey, by the way, this is that. And
well,
yeah.
Okay, well, I appreciate you coming in. It was interesting conversation, and I'm a believer that everything is tied together. Planetary things I think are important, and change of seasons and lunar cycles. So I've also been accused of being a lunatic, Karen. So you could follow Karen at Kstar, KSTAR _ trader, TRADER, and pay attention to this July 10th, 11th date. It's been a long time since we've had a president die in office. We've skipped a few of the, it used to be a cycle. Everyone is worried about Biden's health. What do you think? Is he going to make it through is his chart saying he'll make it through his first term? Or will any of us make it?
Right.
Huh? Karen?
So this is important. I feel that whoever was president, I'm not just looking at Biden's chart. He does have stress aspects there, and I can see the overconfidence and the potential for mistakes. I don't ever really look at a president's personal chart that much. I really rely very heavily on the U.S. chart as well as the Federal Reserve. And I would say that whoever was president would be at risk for not finishing.
In this term, this recent
Exactly.
term.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, Karen, thank you so much. I found it interesting, and I have discretion on who I bring in, and perhaps we could get together in the fall and see if we still are doing webinars after July 10th and 11th.
I think
All
we'll
right.
still be here, Dale. I think God does not want to wipe us out.
All right. Well, he's not done with us, huh? We still have a mission. Okay. Well, that's good to know.
Absolutely. Yes.
All right, Karen, really a pleasure meeting you, and interesting conversation. And thank you for your giving spirit to share your time with us today.
Thank you so much, Dale. It was fun, and I hope we get a chance to do it again.
Nice meeting you. Everyone, that's Karen, and you can follow her at Kstar _ trader. See everyone for Turnaround Tuesday tomorrow. Good hunting the rest of the day. John thanked you. He's healthier than us, Galaxy's saying, and Malia says thank you, and you're now my trading warrior sister, Karen. So you can't get it. It's like being in the mafia. You can't get out of it. And so remember, everyone, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. And we'll see everyone for Turnaround Tuesday. Adios. Thanks again, Karen.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.